Good morning. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? Does anyone have any conflicts of interest with this long agenda?
Need to add a few things to it.
Ever seen one for?
No, I love it.
I would
Kind of fun.
entertain a motion to accept the agenda as it's presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion approved or made by Mr. Dozark, second by Mr. Mulbauer. All in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Madam Auditor, would you read us the minutes?
You bet. August 15, 2023, the Board of Supervisors met at 9 AM with Ty Rosberg, Chairman presiding. Members present were Schultz, Dozark, Rosberg, Mulbauer, and Hayden. Minutes of the previous meeting were read and approved. The board approved clerk of court fees for July 2023. The board approved hiring of Nakia Kano, part-time jailer, sheriff's office. The board approved hiring of Daniel Tonight, deputy sheriff's office. Motion was made by Mulbauer, seconded by Dozark, to approve the purchase of a 2024 model year Cat 150 Joy VR motor grader from Ziegler Cat in the amount of $443,382 contingent fiscal year 25 budget approval. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Hayden, seconded by Schultz on comments related to the Henningsen Farm CAFO site conversion from swine to beef built before matrix system. Motion passed unanimously. Rick Hunsaker, Region 12 Executive Director, gave the board an update on RLF investment and using Carroll and Crawford match. Jacob Langholtz, IT Director, had a discussion with the board about city center generator. Board directed him to bring to the Board of Health. At 11:12 AM, a motion was made by Hayden, second by Mulbauer, to open the exempt session as provided by Iowa Code, section 20.17, subsection 3, with Adrian Macias, Teamsters Local 554, and Aaron Hilligas, Ehlers Cooney attorneys. Motion passed unanimously. At 12:13 PM, a motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Dozark, to close the exempt session. Motion passed unanimously. On motion duly seconded, the board adjourned at 12:14 PM. Agendas for the next meeting are posted and available to courthouse on Friday, 4:30 PM, preceding the next meeting.
Do we have any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll stand as read. Here, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, supervisors report. Ms. Hayden, would you like to begin for us?
I can. I'll do a follow-up on the generator conversation, last week. I've kind of talked to the, public health, members, and we've agreed that we believe that that generator should be natural gas. Actually took all over last week along with one of his, the Johnson, what he's an engineer, I believe, and they, lasered it out. They had their red paint and started writing on it, remove, they kind of gave the boundaries. And, in an effort to keep things moving, the natural gas for the generator is the way to go, according to most of the people that I've talked to. Pros and cons of diesel, gelling in the winter and getting old is kind of off the table. LP tanks, you have to have a specific place to store them, and if you get a big tank, it's gotta have a certain distance from the property lines. We don't have a whole lot of room up there. There would be room, but there's not a whole lot. The question would be, why not natural gas? And the reason that JCAT was, where there's a big explosion, we're not planning for that. We're planning for natural kind of, too cold, too hot pandemics and things like that. Our budget is not designed to think about if the supervisors want to meet over in that room or if that's going to be ground zero. That's not what the public health board's money is for. So we're going to vote at our next meeting. It's going to be on the agenda to make that just be one that will power the freezers and keep Jake's computer equipment and, just a minimal size natural gas generator.
So
Yes.
Gene, how close is the current natural gas line to that location?
According to Paul, who I kind of respect his,
Right.
he believes it runs right in there, you know, kind of, because that's what powers it now. That's what's making it stay, hot right now, is my understanding.
Run on, heaters running natural
I'm
gas.
pretty sure.
Yeah, I remember right on the corner, there's like 3 or 4
Yeah.
natural gas meters coming into the building.
Yeah, I've got some plans to get that done. The other question when we were talking about concrete is where the stoop will be, you know, so I did take the liberty to call Carol, Door and Glass to come over and kind of help guide us through where that ADA door with, you know, the door opening to make sure that I'm thinking of like a door and window person would think. We're the most logical place, because if we put it in the middle, we'll have to have an electric thing in the middle to hit the door. The concern would be when they hit it with the wheelchair, how long it would take. So I just thought I'd have them come over and kind of direct us so that we have somebody in the door and window business, not guessing, knowing. So when I do the stoop, Paul's making a design and writing up, a kind of a generic, because it's such a small project, RFP for me to help out, move along on that.
So you're gonna have like the push button, is that what I said, to open the
Yeah, we
door?
kind of have to on the ADA door, has to.
Okay.
That's all part of that. And so that electrical, where that electrical is gonna come up for that, is gonna make a difference when we do the concrete, so leave the opening for that. So all those little things that I know, if we paid somebody a lot of money, they could figure that all out, but it just, you know, pulling up with the people that know is the best way to do it. So I think we've made some progress on that. I just, so then I also attended the Crawford County Coalition of Human Resources. What it is all of the different agencies that we have. It's really kind of an interesting meeting, because you really get to see the people that are facilitating all these different programs. And I won't take up more than my time today, but this is kind of the map that they have for HHS on services. And if you notice, we probably have the same amount of providers in this area, and how it gets smaller over here. Can you imagine 3 people taking care of this many people in the, that's just a preliminary, but they came up with I like to call it DHS, I'm sorry, HHS just doesn't come out of but this is their alignment on how they think everything should work. What I take out of those meetings a lot of times is, boy, it's a lot of paper, you know, just, everybody get together. I also see so much turnover in the gals that are facilitating these stories or these, programs. I don't think I've ever been at one that it's the same group. Well, Molly and Annette stay the same, but even like Head Start, it's always somebody that's, I did pick up a few little pieces of swag for people, if you need some Band-Aids or chapstick, pass it around. But one of the things that I thought, this one, you know, if you've got a new mother out there that you didn't know babies that cry like that, for parents that, you know, because babies sometimes when they cry and you can't comfort them, if you don't have the right mentality, it causes, and so I thought this was kind of a good little book to send out with new parents that maybe might cry and don't get upset with it, different things you can do. Birthplace, St. Anthony has a big presence over at these meetings talking about all of the different programs they have. But there's also, which I picked this up at the fair. I don't know if you guys want to look at these, you can. I doubt if you do. There's a program. This is a program, NAMA is how they say it. It's a support group for people that have family members. Has anybody ever heard of this before? Nonprofit, it's over in Carroll. It's for a hands-on empathy training program that helps people living with mental illness, friends and families transform their passion and life experiences into skilled grassroots. So it's kind of,
Why you have my name on the back?
So she couldn't forget it.
She's implying that.
sorry, Kyle, it's a different file, but if you want this,
What?
I'll send it to your wife. But it has educational classes, and I just think, knowing how we know things are kind of going in Crawford County with mental health, I think support groups would be good, and I hate, but I wish we had something closer. It appears, that mental health now is moving to Manning, Carroll. What do we have right here that's not a telecall? I think people and people are the best way to deal with mental health. I just don't think a telephone call or, but I think that having someone else that you could call would maybe be, so I'd like to get more information about this program and see how they were at our fair. So I think they want to get over to Crawford County.
I wish they would have training.
You're fine.
To me, it's logical to have it at the hospital. Well, it's a state or federal program. It should be where walk in the hospital,
I
dealing
agree.
with this, not some office somewhere else I gotta go search down or find or have somebody refer me to. It's if people knew they could go to the hospital, not the ER.
Yeah.
And just walk in and there's a division to handle, and not just one hospital here and then skip 5 counties.
I know, I struggle with it, but just kind of.
But the problem is that the reimbursement rates to do that aren't there, so it's a negative to the hospital's budget.
I don't know, we, kind of go through it. That's kind of, got a lot of information on stopping using tobacco and vaping and all that kind of stuff, so I thought this map looked a little lopsided.
Typical Western Iowa.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised though with Council Bluffs and Sioux City there, that we're still,
Not many.
I
yeah.
know,
Right.
it's so obvious,
Oh, you
it's so obvious.
don't take a rocket scientist to figure that out.
I wonder how many other
They're a little bit out.
Regional
So you
maps for
guys-
state programs look identical to that one. Western
Them
half.
3
Yeah.
I
counties, that's
suspect
Des
it-
Moines metro area.
They're trying to do it on, I suspect they try to do it on population, but wow. That's a lot of ground for people. I mean,
A lot of,
You think there's room for people to get missed in that?
I would
Yeah.
say pretty
A lot of
obvious.
cracks
yes,
in
there.
that one.
but and I just, the folks over here, there's probably an office in every one of these cities that a person can walk into and get their assistance. And in this area here, I bet there's one, probably, I'd say probably 4 offices, actual offices where there's people. And so I just thought you guys would like to see that. I'm gonna see if there was another little, but they spend a lot of time with words and color, but I don't see much different. That's my report for today.
Okay, still meet at the extension office? Down in the
Yes,
basement?
yep. Lot of, very few come in anymore. It's all Zoom meetings and people are in their cars and, but, a few of us do go down and actually are important in person. I did, raise my hand to help out a little bit with, Molly and Annette. They needed a financial person to take the checks from public health down to the bank. And I'm like, I think I'm qualified for that. So, because somebody needs to sign them or something. I thought I was qualified for that.
Just don't get money on it.
I will not. Jump in my Prius and go through the drive-through. So that's my report. There we go.
Thank you.
Always interesting.
Is that all you have or?
That's it.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Mr. Mulbauer, what do you have?
I don't have a whole lot. I was gonna bring up September 13th is that session for ISAC House File 718, which has to do with our property tax changes that'll be affecting us next year when we get budgeting.
Okay.
I signed up. The morning session is for supervisors and auditors, and then there is an afternoon session more geared towards the auditors. Terry signed up. I signed up. I don't know if any of you guys were interested or not. I'm just gonna go up for till noon for the supervisors portion of it. At least to try to,
Would you say the date was?
September 13th.
Is it on Zoom or what?
No, it's at the Hilton is it Hilton by the airport
I think so.
is where it's at on Fleur.
Okay.
So if anybody would like to ride out with me or go, I just think it'd probably be good to get our mind wrapped around what
Did they
changes
send an
could be.
email?
Yeah,
It's under the ISAC, on the
You can-
ISAC website.
We're just going down in the morning and come back in.
What day is that?
September 13th.
13th.
I'm gonna say, I don't remember seeing that, but maybe I did, but.
It's on there.
Looks like a Wednesday.
If you go to the ISAC website, it's on their events calendar.
Yeah. And you can register from there.
Okay.
But it might be good to, like I said, get ahead of what's coming at us to
13th? I can't, I'm getting my eyes operated on. See,
Okay.
see, check it out for me.
We will. And then today, of course, I take off. I got a board of directors meeting this afternoon in Des Moines ahead of the annual conference. Conference starts Wednesday morning, of course, then we'll end Friday at noon. And so I'm kind of looking forward to the keynote speaker on Thursday. Has to do about basically local control and pooling your resources to have more influence and impact. It's kind of exactly what we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And that's about all I got. I'll have more to talk about next week after the annual conference.
Okay. Mr. Dozar.
Had Western Community Action meeting last week. I don't know if you guys have served on that board, but that's probably, as far as I'm concerned, I guess personally, that's probably the most complicated board. They do a lot of stuff through that agency. And currently, or previously, I guess I should say, it's what, 30-member board where they got 10 public, 10 private and 10 from low income. And they've changed moving forward after last month's meeting. We're gonna be a board of 24, which is still quite a bit, but they're reducing the private sector from 10 to 4. Public and low income will still be 10 people representing.
Richard
those
Swain
entities.
from Monona County still on there?
Who's that?
Richard Swain? Dick Swain?
I don't know.
Soldier. He's been on there for a long time.
That's a big board.
Yeah, it's a really big board. We too, most people come in by Zoom. Charlie from Shelby County is the president, so he runs the meetings. But, I guess one of the things that they do that I was just gonna highlight, it's called the Family Development and Self-Sufficient Program. And this is just a overview of a family situation and what they did there. It's, female age 30, male age 38. They're married, daughter age 2, sons 9 and 7. They enrolled July 13th, 2022. They exited August 2nd, 2023. Overview of the family situation at entry. The wife was working full-time and struggling to keep up with the bills. They were several months behind on rent and utilities. The father was struggling with his mental health. He was watching the children while the mother was at work. They had one vehicle for the household. The 7-year-old had some behavior issues, some barriers, insufficient income for their bills, father's mental health, child's behavior issues. Goals accomplished, activities done with the FADSS worker. Both mom and dad are employed full-time. The family was able to catch up on bills and can now stay current. The son with behaviors received services and has improved. They now have 2 vehicles for transportation. Collaborations, referrals with other agencies, the Monroe Meyer Institute and Boys Town, West Central Community Action Utility Assistance, Salvation Army School Supply Event, and holiday assistance. Family situation exit. The family is stable and doing well. They feel they have made several improvements since enrolling in FADSS, and family stress level has decreased. So to me, I guess that's what you'd like to see government programs do, is to step in, help out, not become something permanent that they rely on forever, but to help the individual, to me, get their feet on the ground and they help themselves then moving forward.
That is the picture perfect of a government program.
Right.
You know,
In my mind.
In my mind, yes, yeah. They're there to help get you established, get you out, get the bird out of the nest, instead of being dependent on the rest of their life.
Yep.
That's great. That's great.
And that's something they do. They have a weatherization program, and then, of course, they deal with Head Start and early Head Start. And so there's just a lot of stuff. I guess, underneath their umbrella, that's taken me some time to understand and come to grips with. One thing that they did say is that they opened up a second early Head Start program in Council Bluffs, and this is the first time that they have done that. And it's the first time in 2 years that they have been fully staffed. The staffing has been an issue with them as it has been with a lot of entities. But that is really everything I have. I am in contact, I guess, with someone in the governor's office concerning maybe some grant money for the playground at Children's Imagination Station, as there's gonna be a second wave, I think, of some grant money that's gonna be available. And this person is gonna keep me abreast as to when they can apply for any of those grants, and how much will be available.
That's good.
That's real good. It is to have somebody.
That's
that
all I got.
We know.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Mr. Schultz.
Taking it on the chin for knocking the playground down at Washington Park.
Oh, my gosh. I was
And what do you
amazed.
do if it's unsafe to play on?
Right.
You gotta do it. But Dennis will just kind of,
They did it the right thing. I mean,
all right.
you had to move. You had
Cheaper
to
than a
take
lawsuit.
action.
When you go down and look at the wood that's in there, even the untrained eye can see how rotten that was. It was just, and
20
nails.
years out of some wood sitting out in the weather,
Yeah.
good longevity, you know?
You know, and a lot of people are saying, oh, they didn't maintain it. If they would have maintained it. There's just so much you can do, to something that's out in all of the elements, 365 days a year, hot, cold, wet, staining it and waterproofing it. But, nails just have a tendency of not being able to hold. And so it's just time for a new one. And unfortunately, I feel like the press release could have been a little bit softer, rather than, our insurance company they deemed this to be unsafe, we're gonna demolish it tomorrow, it's like,
Just rip the Band-Aid off.
I'm planning to go into that meeting tonight to kind of hear what because volunteers are what made that what it is.
What meeting are you going to tonight?
City council, yeah, special meeting to discuss that issue, so I just go listen.
Well, what did they estimate? What, 600,000-700,000 to replace that?
Big number.
Wow.
Ouch.
A lot of people talked about wanting a splash pad, which is very popular down in Dow City.
Manning as well.
Manning.
Some lifeguard there.
Yeah.
Very.
Well, and even if it's just a playground, it's gotta be a different creature.
Yeah.
It's gotta be accessible,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, there is
you
a
know,
whole lot of new issues that have come up since that
I
was
think
built.
government regulations, they're supposed to break their arm or anything.
I know, no fun at all.
Chickadee old slide.
Monkey bars are
You
illegal.
You
know,
burn yourself on a
give them that
stainless
20-foot
steel
slide with no rails on it, come on.
Stainless steel all the way down.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what it was in Kyron, and we had blacktop for the ground. So if you would fall,
Yeah,
You
you
were
didn't
breaking
fall on the
something.
rocks or on the
Yeah.
grass
No.
or on the ground. It was blacktop.
That's just,
They all survived.
Union Park, they had that
Most part.
great slide there, yeah, I know.
I'm proud of
It
all
was
my
awesome. I
children.
lived next door to it, it was perfect,
deals, but
perfect place to grow up.
Mr. Schultz.
Friday, I went up to Cherokee, attended a Yes Center meeting, pretty much standard stuff, just kind of operations update that makes it interesting of the nature of the beast that we're getting into now. Is, started out with a gang war in Fort Dodge. So they're a member of Central Iowa. But two employees in gangs, they had to get split up.
Yep.
So we ended up with 3 of one gang and he ended up with 3 of the other gang. So that was, and like a week later, the gang war moved to Storm Lake. So we had to share with.
Yeah.
Tony called in a favor,
Yeah.
so Cheryl had said, I hated to call him back, but I called him back, said, I'm calling that favor in right now, because they had to split up a gang again.
Again.
Yeah.
wow.
Now, are these linked gangs between Storm Lake and Fort Dodge, or two,
Oh, I wouldn't
four
doubt it.
separate
Wouldn't doubt it.
altogether?
I suspect they are.
I-
14-year-old in for attempted murder.
Oh, my God.
Oh, it's-
Yeah,
Would such a game like that be in Crawford County, do you think?
oh, if it's in Storm Lake, it's in Crawford County.
We've got it.
Just asking for a friend.
What are the age of these gangs? I mean, like 14 to
14.
18 or like?
14, yeah, all juveniles.
I'm,
So
I'm going to the
Attempted
report.
murder?
attempted murder, yeah, drive-by shootings.
Don't they?
You know, that's not uncommon in Fort Dodge, but Storm Lake, that's getting, but I hate to say it, it's probably only a matter of time before it hits Denison or Charter Oak or,
Never know.
cause I'm sure the gangs are in Charter Oak too.
There's a lot of similarities between our communities, between.
You look at the demographics of the commute, all Fort Dodge, Storm Lake, high level of immigrants.
Spirit scene, you know.
I haven't heard anything about Perry, but. So,
Yeah, I don't, I haven't heard anything about them either. I mean, I'm sure there's some. There is.
sound like Cheryl and Tony are getting along good enough to take the fight to State House in regards to the distribution of state funding. And they're going after to get, Polk is sitting on what, 20 beds that they don't use.
Yeah,
Which is a total
How can
BS.
that be?
it's crazy.
Right.
They don't have the staffing, right?
Yeah, do the staffing, but.
So
there's-
redistribute the beds where they do have staffing.
Right. And they were both thinking if they could each split that 10 and 10 or whatever and help out. So, but they're uphill battle because they're fighting Polk County. But Polk County don't even, they just send their kids someplace else, you know, to Central Iowa or Yes Center. Woodbury County ain't any different. They sit there with empty beds. But they have people sitting there 24 hours a day and maybe have 2 people in there, full staff.
I
It's kind of like the Crittenden Center.
have had places
They
that
won't
have
take
full
any-
staff and no.
Yep.
Is HHS now the overseers of all the juvenile detention centers?
Yes, they moved it out of the Department of Juvenile Justice and moved it into Health and Human Services, I think.
Because to me, why isn't there an audit done every year, every other year where this facility like Polk County has 10 beds that isn't being utilized, and this facility in Woodbury has 2 people in there, but yet overstaffed? I mean, where are those audits to show that equity within the system? And
On the state level.
They'll be coming in 5 years. They'll be 2 years behind when you get the audit. And by then,
But the Yes Center would be capable of taking 5 or 10 extra beds, because Plains area left that wing, so that wing just sitting there empty. So it'd take minimal work to get that done at little to no extra cost, so. We've had Jasper County wanting to become a member now. So there's, counties are moving around, shopping around now.
And they're
But we're just physically have no room left,
like where we have
taking new counties on.
2 centers, I think there'll be more starting to do that.
Each member county within the Yes Center guaranteed 1 bed. So we don't have any room left to take any more. We did strike a deal with the state of Nebraska that they'll keep us full. But they know as soon as if a Crawford County kid comes in, they're getting kicked out. And they're at a 275 rate, we're at 175. So it's keeping us full.
here's how to do.
They gotta find ways to make money too.
They get together,
expensive.
talk about it, they gather. Then in July, they have town halls. And then they kind of summarize in August, and then they identify the options. Then by October, they're gonna deliver the results. So that's all gonna work. Had a one-on-one with somebody that attended the documentation, and nobody was saying. So.
Yep, so with that, they had multiple fights within the center, so the staff is, the supervisor all chipped in $10 to buy pizza for them. And they're going above and beyond, I think.
is the bottleneck at the state for getting more beds? I mean, it's truly up to them to.
Yep.
And
It's,
if you
They
can
need to
provide the staffing,
reevaluate.
I don't know why they wouldn't say, hey, like a daycare. You have X, what, you have so many staff to manage these many kids, why it's not the same. Because if the need is there,
Right. You know, like we said earlier, they closed a lot of them training schools. So I just kicked them to juvenile detention because they still have to go someplace. The state's created a lot of this. I made the comment, remember the days when we had like 4 kids in here? And now we're full all the time.
All the time.
They said it makes the day go by fast.
And where do they get their food again?
They get it through MHI,
Okay.
Mental Health Institute. Which was the highlight, we got to tour the tunnels and everything up there. It's kind of neat,
Yeah.
going through the museum and everything. But our
Not-
tour guide was long-winded and about 4 of us finally just found people and exited out.
Yeah.
But
Too much information.
So, other than that, few calls about the bridge by Charter Road. That's probably been the most of my phone calls lately. When's that, and nothing going on, what's going on with the bridge? Well, just frankly tell them there's a plan in place and waiting to be approved by the engineers, and once that gets approved, I'm sure they'll get after it, and imagine about 2 to 3 weeks of construction.
There was a pretty good article in the new paper, so. Dan did a pretty good article.
He did, it did, spark some interest. People in Now City wonder what's going on over in
Sure.
Charter.
That's about all I had, you know. Oh, I did go down and drive the new, modified subgrade seal coat road.
Yeah. I was down there
That
too.
sucker is nice. I did have a couple phone calls in regard to that too, said, that's nice.
Yeah. It is really nice.
Have to see how it
Super
holds up.
smooth, well done.
Yeah.
They actually, we were only supposed to have 26 foot wide in place if it's closer to 30, so Paul said, I don't know how we're gonna get billed for all that, or they're just gonna bill us for the 26 foot, because that's all we agreed on. So they just went shoulder to shoulder instead of just 26 foot in the center. It's nice, and if it holds up, like Paul said, we gotta keep it seal coated
Yeah.
to make it last.
Yep.
What's the expectancy? Was that 25 years or am I thinking of something else?
I would say all, you know, if we keep it seal coated, there's a little maintenance to it, but it could last 20 years, I'm guessing. Barring a 4-man's concrete,
Yeah.
instead of just bringing it out ready mix trucks and pouring it, they just blended it on site with some dirt and gravel and put some water in it.
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see how it
Time
does
will
hold
tell.
up, because whether we get into doing more of that or not, you know, if it holds up and like you said, nice as it is.
If it gets rid, I mean, that the potential is to get rid of the washboards, gets rid of buying so darn much rock every year. It gets rid of the
And that
sand
section,
complaint that we get, you know, for our sloppy roads. I mean, that's
that
all that
section of
stuff.
road, I do remember,
It's high.
every month you're hauling rock.
It's a high.
So at what point do you know that it's successful or we've?
Paul thought 2 or 3 years we'd look at it.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what he said.
Paul's good at keeping an eye on that stuff, probably 20 years ago already, in 15, we did a section from the dog food plant towards Randy Coombs, where every one half mile was straight gravel. The next half mile was 1-inch limestone and gravel, and the next half mile was just, there was 4 different test strips of blended stuff. And that's what we did for a number of, like 2 years, just kept it like that, to find out the optimal, what will work the best, and that's where he kind of come up with that gravel with 2/3 gravel, 1/3 limestone. So, and
I would say the roads are
Say
better
it
than
will
they
be.
were when I was a
when
kid.
Paul retires, we're gonna have big shoes to fill.
Big.
Yeah, big time.
Well, it was kind of a blend of finding a happy medium where you wasn't a pure limestone road that packed in and you couldn't groom and maintain versus just a sand road.
And what we can afford.
And what we can afford. So it's like kind of a perfect storm of finding out where we're most efficient.
So, You know, that gets quite a bit of use too from risers there, even that's their personal driveway, you know, most of the winter feeding cattle, so. I mean, it held up, you know, it's, this is down there in Easton will also show a lot of heavy traffic on a daily basis. I can see it becoming for these high animal confinement areas, big grain operations, a viable alternative.
Cool.
I think that'd be I think especially for our highest use roads.
Yep.
Ones that got a lot of heavier traffic, but a lot of traffic period. It could save us a lot of money in the long run, I think, buying gravel every year.
Mm-hmm.
And they just crush it now.
Yeah, going to Denny Top's feed lot and grain bin, they're always dumping rock on it, always.
We've got others like that. I mean, there's actually down there, just go to like over to the muffs and stuff. I bet you put a lot of rock on that.
So it's good to have some test strips out there and see how they perform.
You bet.
Maybe it'll have a wet spring and it'll just fall completely apart.
Would be nice to get a good test of it, or we went spending more money on it.
That, the seal coat that has to go on, is that at the county's expense or will that be the plant, like they?
No, that'd be at our expense.
How often do they need to reseal them? Annually
He thought
or?
maybe 2 years, because they do the park road that goes into Nelson Park every 2 years.
Do they?
So he figured probably just do it at that time, you know.
Makes sense.
Did the landowner used to have to pay for that dust control and now they won't have to pay anything anymore? Or should they take care of the section that's in front of their place?
Some of that, yes, I imagine, I can't remember if Tom had dust control in front of this place or not, but some of them did.
Be a thought, you know, if you used to pay for the dust control in front of your area, maybe they should still share a little bit with that. Yeah. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Got to be used to that.
I drove last night, there was still a little dust on it, but once that rock gets, that's,
This week with the heat, it should seal that down.
Yeah.
It's
Might
hot.
actually have to go out, and put some more sand on top of it, bleeding through in the heat. I don't. Be interesting, because that'd be an alternative for Charter Oak going to the swimming pool.
well, actually, that'd be a great alternative. Instead of just.
Take any picture of it? You take any picture of it? while you're
I
out
did. I was down there last night. On my way home, I stopped at a couple of towers from Des Moines. I stopped at a couple of towers and stopped at that. Oh, wrong button.
Used to be.
Well, I'll find it here, Dave. Right here. Now, this is a picture of the rock. Okay. And then this is just like a picture of the rock. But look how smooth it looks. You can take these.
They did a great job. I don't know.
Almost like an updated blacktop road.
And that goes, where's that at? Todd?
Down there, that's down there east.
You go
Oh,
to Nelson's
okay.
Park.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that
turn
looked
to
nice.
Nelson's
There's another picture there where it's just, it's a close up of the
Maiden
rock.
Road or something where we do
on
this
the top.
place
Which
is
is
an
unique.
in-between road that's traveled a lot, but yet
Really cool.
doesn't necessarily.
Cause I was talking with my nephew and he works for some farmers down in Monona County. And Monona and Harrison had an agreement to pay from Woodbine to Moorhead. Like Harrison County held up their end of the bargain and Monona came out last week or 2 weeks ago and put some seal coat down. And he said it wasn't a matter of a couple hours and it was already breaking up from the heavy traffic on it.
Yeah, I think this turned out excellent. I mean, as long as it's durable, like we're hoping, I think that'll be. a
It's
heck
heat
of a
on
way
it
to go.
tested. I mean, they said, you know, some asphalt temperatures get up to 175 degrees today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
That'll test it out that way.
Yeah.
What county did you say that was that had their own machine for doing this?
Oh, they're
Down
down
there.
southeastern Iowa.
Yeah, down south of Iowa City somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that's potentially something we could do with our guys if we have to, you know,
Well,
we could do it on our own.
maybe, you know, the transition from grading dirt roads and
Yeah.
doing some of that other stuff that
Yeah,
might put them, buy the equipment, trade some dozers in and buy some of that stuff, you know,
yeah.
do that for a while.
I mean, that's gives us, if it holds up, I mean, it might be something that's viable for us in the future. I mean, give other boards something else to examine anyway, future boards.
You know, in the last 20 years, you could do that for 5 summers and be set pretty good, I think. Hit your high roads, high travel, heavy travel roads, get them knocked out and move on to something else.
I agree. It can be really good.
That's it.
That's all you got, sir? Okay, well, it's left me a little bit of time. I actually had Central Iowa Juvenile Detention as well last Friday, but I didn't go up to it, obvious reasons, I'm kind of occupied. But I did go over there. I was gonna zoom in if I needed to. But he said the only thing that they really had is they were gonna go over their skills for success for referrals by race stuff and sex and gender. And they're supposedly gonna do a class. Since I wasn't there, I'm not gonna talk too much about it because I really don't understand what he was talking about. That was about the only thing they talked about that wasn't your typical every meeting going over the stats. Like Cal was talking about, you know, us trading back and forth and how we're overloaded. I mean, I just brought up the list here. And I'll just read some of this, you know, I mean, you got Dubuque and Lynn counties, neither one of them are actually in our thing. They're outside counties, just like Polk and stuff. But Webster is, but I mean, the first 3 on here are 1st-degree murders. They're class A felonies. On 2 of them are females, you know, which, you know, just kind of catches you. Wow, what do we got? You know, anyway, and then you go down through here, 1st-degree robbery, sexual abuse, and robbery, sexual abuse, robbery. And these are all 1st-degree things so far. Now we're getting to a 2nd-degree sexual, first attempted murder. Story County, Webster County, there's 2 of them. You know, Webster, Fort Dodge is, they always called it Little Chicago when I was a kid, and I think it might be middle-sized Chicago now, so.
It's a rough town.
Yeah, but actually, Marshalltown competes with them quite well. Marshall County and Webster County are always in the competition for who's got the most bed days. And which is, you know, we tease them about it, but it's kind of sad, actually.
Ty, do you think from growing up there, because of the industry that they have, the wages people make, what do you think? How does Fort Dodge get a reputation like that? And it hasn't been over the last 5 to 10 years. I mean, it's
Yeah,
been,
it's been since that, well,
Been 100.
I'm 60, so.
right, I mean, how does the community get?
I think just the job sets that are there, you know,
Yeah.
you know,
It's, Fort Dodge has always had a fair amount of diversity. Now, if you really look at the national level, it's probably represented pretty, I mean, what is our African-American population nationally? It's like 12%. That's about what Fort Dodge is. So now they've got a few more Hispanics, but I remember when I was a kid, Dad getting some workers from Pakistan and different places like that. So, I mean, it's always had a cultural influx, you know, where, you know, some communities that don't have packing houses, you know, there was a Hormel and an IBP there at one time. But then there's other industry there, you know, whether it's the dog food plant, you know, and Carnation, or, you know, there's a place that makes cans there. There's just, I mean, they're an industry town. But, you know, they've also got their higher end services, professional services in Fort Dodge as well. I mean, they got a lot of good medical services, but I don't know. So as far as that demographic, it seems to be always was pretty well mixed. But, I don't know that mental health, when I was a kid, you never heard people talking about mental health industries and stuff like that to try to, and maybe it's just caught up to them and.
well, taking a tour of the Mental Health Institute,
Yeah.
the Craig, when I was a working farm, you know, them people felt needed, but the mindset of them days was if your kid or whatever had whatever. Yeah, they use the words insane or retarded or
Yeah.
whatever, that's what the books say.
Yeah. I remember,
They, you know, parents would drop them off and say, never see them again, because it was almost a sin to have the devils possessing them or whatever, so I think as we become more tuned in to trying to actually get help for these people instead of just locking them up, is and then the drug problem just increases mental health issues,
Yeah,
so.
I agree.
So I mean, but then we get all these immigrants immigrating in, and you know what I always figured you need a couple generations to get people accustomed to,
Kind of,
but when there's such a big
Acclimated.
influence of them,
yeah.
we have to become accustomed to their ways of life. You know, you bring them people out of Africa that have been at a civil war for the last 300 years, all they know how to do is kill each other. You know? Somebody
Conflict,
crosses
all that.
them, you know, I'm just gonna chop your head off. So that's all they know. That's all they've lived.
Now I go back and look at Israel and Palestine. I mean, that's been thousands of years of.
So
I think that the mental health thing's probably a big thing, you know, really focus on that. Actually, yesterday was one of our ag for NACO meetings. It was my first one. Actually, it was just a leadership meeting. We didn't really talk about a lot of different things, but some things that we wanted to advance. There was a lady from from Georgia. And she wanted to do about more mental health within rural America. She said, we have a lot of farmers with mental health challenges because of the high stress of well, you watch your grain markets and you watch, everything's more volatile. It's not a simple life anymore at all, you know? So obviously the stress, you know, I mean, you look at the way the pig world has treated the hog farmers recently. And I mean, so that's something that they want to kind of attack at national level is, you know, more programs for mental health. I mean, I think that that's probably going to have to be done. I think a lot of it is, you know, if you look at it, it's the idle hands thing. You know, if you got time to sit around about all the problems, you sit and think about all the problems you have, they become more real to you, you know, and I think that that's part of the problem is there's a lot of people because they aren't part of the active workforce and different things like that. I think it just complicates it. That's just my guess. I don't know.
Are you saying my grades aren't from my kids, it's from farming?
Pretty good chance. You got a good equal share of both in there. Kyle's getting a little bit of shiny up here. But it's platinum. It's because you're worth more. That's what
on paper.
on paper.
On paper.
I know all that. But yeah, I mean, those, you know, I was just going over them there as Kyle was saying that. I thought, gosh, I'm gonna look that over again, because you just look at some of these things that you just don't think of. I mean, it don't show any of the ages on here. It shows how many
What would
bed
the
days
rate
each
be?
person's been there, but you know.
Is that your 14-year-olds too, though?
Most of these kids here are for it. Now, there's a lot of adult waves in here and they'll be 12, 13, 14 years old.
They're gonna be a burden to the counties and stuff till they graduate to adult.
A lot of that is your social media stuff that you see. I don't
Could be.
think that we can not talk about that, what you can see. And I watched like my little 7.5 years, 7.5. And things that just pop up, and I'll be like, that is not appropriate. It just gets there, you know what I'm saying? It just, and I don't know, if you don't have parents that are just watching that and restricting it, there's just so much, and it, garbage in, garbage out, you know, and, it just messes with
Yeah.
kids' brains.
I think kids are even targeted on social media,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
apps and the things they play, like I said with some of the sex trafficking rings of how they go after kids and they lure them in
Yep.
with a, you know, an app or on a social website or.
And you start feeling bad about yourself because the kids at school, you know, the first day of school is hard on a lot of kids because they're going into a new environment, and it just takes one person to look sideways, you know, or kids are mean anymore. They're a little bit mean. They were mean back in our day, but we weren't that mean.
Were you one of the mean girls?
I don't think so.
Okay. Just checking. Say, I will say that the Altoona Police Department did have a big push during the fair, and they had some stuff set up, but then they also had a large, well, he was not as large as I thought he would be, but they had a guest there, but they were the child trafficking. It was a big awareness thing for that. They had a big push down there that day of the fair. And my football hero from when I was a kid was there, and I actually got to put on his Hall of Fame ring. Randy White from the Cowboys was down there.
Oh my gosh.
So that was
Fancy.
pretty cool. But that, when you talked about child trafficking and stuff, that was
Is he about 70 now? or-
yeah, 70 on the button.
Okay.
That's his Hall of Fame ring.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I
Still
just kind of like, so, okay,
this guy's got.
my fair's complete. I can go home now. And I really wasn't expecting. I mean, I walked out by the grills there. I'd been in the back getting some bacon and loaded my grill, and I walked out there and I said, oh, there's a smoke. Oh my gosh, you're the master.
Yeah.
He said, you know me. I said, yes, sir, I do. Anyway, that was kind of neat, but he was there for child trafficking. We've got some of those things that, we're aware of in society. I really don't know if we always got the answer to what direction we should be going. I mean, I think we just gotta keep digging though and keep climbing the mountain until we get to the top and can see down the other side. Yeah, cause if you're getting the same share of stuff that we're getting over there, it's a challenge. And we need help from the state. There's no two ways about it. You
Yeah,
brought
I
that.
mean, it's sad, you look at all them buildings up there that are just falling in and Cherokee due to, the state just don't fund anything, but there's so much resources that used to be there that aren't available anymore.
And I think they should work harder on funding for our centers, the mental health aspect. I mean, it's just like them cops pointed out that time. I mean, that's probably the biggest challenge with these younger people is, from abuse or different things, alcoholism, their parents it could be alcoholics, and then they just automatically trip into it, all those things happen when you're young. And this is where we could maybe, I know we got Nate over there that's trying different things to, interact with them and get them straight before they even end up in the detention centers full time, I know it's a challenge, really is.
The question needs to be, why did you act out? What caused that behavior? And you have to catch it young. You can't wait till that's the norm. And there's usually, if you can really get to the core of that, there is a reason. There's something deep bothering them, unless there's.
I don't know if they've talked about it up there at his team, but we actually had a long discussion. Our commission, which they call ours instead of a board, is a commission. There's 34 of us on that sucker, so I mean, there's a lot of minds there that are sharing info. And a lot of that comes from an early childhood trauma.
Right.
Whether it's a sexual abuse or there's a menagerie of things that could happen to you.
Nobody caring is part of it.
Yeah.
You have an issue and nobody will listen and it just multiplies. Sorry to interrupt you, but that's.
Nope, that's exactly right. So anyway, let's get on here. We
Some
got,
people are just wired differently, but most of that stuff is triggered by a tragedy or
The right,
traumatic.
Traumatic
that's
event.
exactly.
But on
right.
that note, I remember being at a nice second event where they had a mental health lady come in, a professional, and she said it's not only, let's say a kid has a traumatic experience, she equated it, you could have like a Holocaust victim who had a traumatic experience that passed down 3-4 generations.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the 4th generation has an addiction or substance use problem, but never had that traumatic experience, but they're proving they can see it on your DNA, that imprint show up of the traumatic experience from previous generation.
sure.
Well, that's depressing.
Yeah, it is.
That explains a lot of me, I guess.
Could explain it to you.
It always stuck with me that,
Yeah, well,
That's
You
that's
never know.
tough.
but you even look back, like at our grandparent, my grandmother was very quiet. She spoke German and you just never really got to know her. But I think that she, being raised the way she was, it just kind of keeps carrying down and
Sure.
but I don't know.
Yep, could be right.
I have something to say, but I'm gonna
I
hold
know
it to
you're gonna keep it.
myself.
I think I'm thinking when you.
Are you? Like that skipped a generation
Yes.
I
maybe or something?
think the resources available.
You got more
Did not
grandpa,
get past
he's more grandpa blood.
Sorry.
Well, I let you guys go on. I mean, it's a little past 9:45 and our next thing, but you guys were really into a good conversation, so I let that ride. And since it ain't Paul being here, and it's supposed to be a short agenda, so I really wanted to screw that up the best I could. Okay, discuss and take action on a public notice and publication thereof related to the confined animal feeding operation facility conversion. Oh, I hit my switch. Get close to the subject here. Conversion known as the Henningsen Farms.
Okay, this is a redo.
Yeah.
I did not realize our office was to get it published. So putting that notice back out there, we're gonna get it published. because Paul needed the affidavit of publication as proof of publication
Okay,
for the DNR, so they allowed us a 30-day grace period
Oh,
to get it published. So we're gonna get it published once, if you all take
So
action.
that's kind of a different way than we usually did
It's a little different because it's already a confinement. It's just repurposing it now to cattle.
but so it just has to have a public notice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
so
then
we need a
wait.
motion to
Yes.
republish that.
Yeah.
Or to publish that. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Hayden makes the motion to, make the public notice and Mr. Mulbauer seconds. Are there any additional questions or concerns with that?
We discussed it.
just from a discussion matter, did talk to Dean last Friday. I think he was helping flip some burgers and stuff for the
Oh, yeah.
honor flights on Friday. Excuse me, and Dean stopped in there and he said that animals come in around 200 pounds, leave about 450. This is one facility. He's thinking about maybe doing it to two additional facilities also moving forward if he can get some other contracts lined up. So.
Sure. Excellent. So he's just background again. Is it dairy calves?
Dairy Cross.
They're various breeds. They're not all dairy cross
Okay.
breeds.
All right.
Better than having.
I thought that they would be, but they're not all.
Okay.
All
Well,
right,
excellent. Well, actually, I talked to some people down at the fair. This isn't a novelty.
No,
So this is happening in a lot of places.
he said he is having some, what do you want to say? I don't want to say trouble. Some interference with DNR, maybe. They're his biggest obstacle. So I said, well,
Oh, I'm sure.
maybe us passing. I don't know if that helps the DNR with the process that he has to go through his DNR.
Okay.
I mean, what a better way to use an old building rather than, I shouldn't say old building, but a building that's not being utilized.
Right.
You bet. Well, questions there. All in favor, state so by saying aye.
I,
Opposed, no. Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Okay. We have discuss, take action, tax abatement.
On to,
Look at that.
1190 260th Street, Kyrie, Dolores Nimitz, trustee, Dane
How are you
Langley.
doing? I can't even
New
believe it.
house.
good, huh?
I don't know.
We're right
You'd
on
like to
time.
give us an update on that,
That's one
Mr.
perspective, I
Assessor?
guess.
And optimistic.
Exactly.
So, Dane Nimitz, his, father actually owns the land, but they're building a second dwelling and the dwelling is his. And they're talking about somewhere around 200,000. I'm guessing it will be more than that, looking at the square footage and so forth, but, and they want the 3-year and they have done a building permit, so our recommendation would be to approve the abatement.
So is that one of those that 51% of its house and the other is a shop or how does that?
So looking at the measurements, it appears that the house is 1,600 square foot. And the garage, which is how we would enter it, is not quite that big. It looks like 30 by 30. Well, there is some contradictory to the measurements, so.
Is that the rule of thumb though, you know, in order to get that tax abatement that the house has?
So no,
I got that
it's
wrong.
residential,
Residential.
yeah.
Okay.
so. There's always, sometimes they come in with the opinion that, you know, that's an ag building, so I shouldn't have to get a building permit. But in order to get the tax abatement, it needs to be it's on residential property, not on ag property.
So I guess just so that I can kind of understand it, if somebody's building a shop, and they just are gonna have a small portion of it, just kind of, that would get a tax abatement. Is there a percentage?
If it is residential, so keep in mind, so residential is assessed at market value.
Yeah,
Ag buildings are assessed at productivity value. So an ag building gets a ag factor that is currently around 80%. to get to assessed value. So let's say you build just $100,000 house or whatever. And so if we assess it as an ag building, that means its assessed value is $20,000.
Okay.
And then its taxable value would be 80% or minus 80% of that. I believe the ag rollback's 80 something. So that $20,000 building now has a taxable value of 20% of 20, so what, $4,000? Yeah. So assessed as a residential structure, it's assessed at market value. And then the rollback for residential is currently like 54% or something like that, 53%. So its taxable value would be 53,000 or something like that.
So in your opinion, I'm trying to figure out the advantage to the county would rather they have it be residential. So it doesn't
Definitely.
get more solar.
Yep.
Yep,
Mhm.
because I was thinking that
Yes.
people tried to make it look like a house.
Well,
so that-
yes, you're exactly right.
I got one.
Yeah, that's under that auspice that, and then they wouldn't get a building permit
Okay,
and things
yeah,
of that
right,
nature,
right.
but your tax abatement, your tax abatement ordinance is for residential and commercial industrial, not agricultural.
Yep.
Which, if it was agricultural, it would be peanuts, you know, it really wouldn't be enough to.
Yeah, I get it.
Cheapest way.
I was trying to
Yep.
put my little brain around it.
For the one bedroom.
Yeah.
One small apartment for my boy.
But you know, the market value of those is pretty strong. You know, we've seen a lot of them sell, you know, there's one down by Dunlap, and we're off on in the weeds, but that one down by Dunlap, sold for $410,000 or $420,000. So
I like it.
It did sell.
was it, the last name alluded to me,
I'm thinking of Ayler's.
No.
No,
it's on the pavement,
oh.
Lampy maybe,
Lampy.
on the south side as you're going towards Soldier.
Yeah, I think that one did sell. I was thinking you were talking about Robert Ayler's, because I think it was still for sale.
Could be.
I think it's a neat
300
concept.
something.
Just get it tied up.
Now, does it, I mean, with this explanation, it really doesn't make no difference to us being,
Right.
the kid is building it on his dad's property?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it says anything, and it just has to be assessed as residential.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can I make a motion to approve the tax abatement, 3-year, 100%?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Schultz, second by Mr. Dozar to approve the tax abatement on the previously mentioned property. Any further discussion? All in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Chair votes, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Zink. We appreciate it. Always in favor of new building.
absolutely.
Right here. Yep.
That's 3 in 3 weeks.
Yeah, they're
I know it.
been kind of, I think people, you know, and
That's great.
That house
I
on
think the
Dawson
interest
Street,
rate
that's
shock is kind of worn off,
that real big.
you know, and if they're gonna do the project, they're gonna do
Paradise
it.
neighborhood.
I don't think they,
Need some trees, but it's pretty nice
you
out.
gotta have a place to live. And sometime you have to build it.
You only have to pay interest if you don't pay cash.
Yeah, that's right.
Hmm.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Interest. really don't
Okay,
make no
now we
difference.
are actually already to citizens input.
I have a question.
Oh.
Are the bathrooms working right now? When I was in yesterday, I guess the water can,
They're empty.
I mean, the one, even the one
Off
upstairs.
and on, they will be not working.
Okay, because I was in yesterday and there were some
Right.
folks
We
that
have
were
the sheriff's office to use.
concerned about.
Is there room and plumbing and stuff down there that shut things down?
I think so.
That makes sense.
There's the plumbing is mixed up as the wiring was then, or?
Oh, I'm sure.
Sure it is. Couple old Germans sitting
You got
there
the
together.
outside.
Well, I pointed that out.
Yeah, we can tie that together.
They'll never know.
Citizens input, you're sitting in here, ma'am. I'm gonna assume.
Just talking about, or kind of expanding on, the talks last week. I don't know how much I can say.
Yeah, I don't know either.
When in doubt, don't say anything.
The dollar. Well,
Okay. I was thinking about that.
like, so there's gonna be a letter, right, from the attorney to clarify our position.
Yeah,
And Amy has data that's gonna be included in that, so you can say that, I think you
okay.
can.
So instead of trying to figure out dollar amounts for each that would be available for what was talked about, just doing a solid or even 2,000. And then the payback would be 250
Oh.
a pay period, and then it would be
If
done
they
by the end of the
act, if
year.
they act now,
Yeah,
if they wait another month, that's gonna be.
It'd be
Well-
pointless to do at that
Right,
point,
because
because
it's
they're gonna
already-
be
It
getting
would be
payroll then.
this,
Well,
yeah,
Exactly.
Right.
But still.
Even
It's
if they wait
either
another
now
week.
or it's not.
Even if they wait past the end of, I don't know if you can do it past the end of August and make it work, can you?
well, the
We're gonna
whole
need
point
mine.
was to have something next,
For this paper.
For this paper?
Yes.
yeah, so if they don't do it, then it's done. So
Right.
I would actually need to know by Monday
Yeah.
to make it happen.
That's what I was,
So,
yeah.
so they would need to sign off saying that they wanna do it, and
But it's optional, they don't
they
Well,
don't
we-
have
have
to.
individual for each person, you can or you can't, it's out there.
Right.
And we will get something signed.
So they
Yeah,
get a
so we
letter
have
from
them.
our attorney, from Colin,
No,
No.
from Aaron,
From
Aaron Hilligas.
the guy that was here.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so he need to reply,
Or negotiate.
and then if they wanna do it, they will have to sign saying they wanna do it, so.
And when is he hoping to have that letter out?
ASAP.
He'll have it out today.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good.
And he'll have to send it to their representative, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
He'll disperse it among the members.
Yeah.
Member.
Bruce.
Cause they all have to,
Yeah,
they may not pay dues, but they're covered by the
they're
union,
consulted,
so.
yeah.
Right, so I just wanted
Well,
to let you know. I mean, that just seems like the most simple, if you guys are
Yeah, I
all
think,
okay with
Well,
that.
that's pretty, you know.
Rather than
we
having
sat here
seven
and
different
stewed
dollar
to try to
amounts
give them
and
some
seven
kind of
different
option.
payment plans,
right,
so.
Yeah,
I always think it's better than absolutely nothing we can do.
right, and this is, I like nice even numbers.
I agree, I agree.
Yes.
Okay, just wanna let you guys.
thanks,
Thank
Amy.
you. Yep.
Okay,
I just,
thank
what
you,
if they
Amy.
came in with a dollar amount, and say, we only want to advance half of that?
I mean, that
Would
would
that-
be fine too,
Okay.
but of course, I mean, like, I'm okay with that, I don't know, if you guys are okay with
I'm
that.
fine with that too. I would be fine with that as long as it's.
We'll see what happens.
If that's
So
what
if
you
they
do,
come
do it.
back with something like that and we don't meet till next Tuesday, she needs it done by Monday.
Them two, all they have to do is just say, you told them to, and they're our voice, so. That's it.
We'll get her done. Make it happen, Gavin.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amy.
Do it, yep.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
Appreciate that. Is there anybody out in the Zoom land that has any citizens input? Guess they're just Mr. Kurthoff or hearing nothing.
I did talk to Bill Raniger Friday at the Eskimo Co-op Appreciation Supper, and he was pretty excited about being our new county board
Oh, good.
Good, I hope it keeps that
representative,
enthusiasm.
so.
Good.
I'll be gone next Tuesday.
Okay. Taking your youngster back or
Yep, we leave tomorrow morning for Phoenix. Drive.
you drive, they fly? Is that how it works again?
I'm leaving tomorrow, they're flying out Saturday.
I will be gone on the
So
12th.
you drive back by yourself?
Joe will all fly back.
You're just taking a,
I'm
like a
taking my
U-Haul?
car out.
Our car.
Nice, time all by yourself, just driving.
No, my nephew's going.
Oh, okay.
Probably good, yeah.
I'll be gone on the 12th.
On the 12th.
I'll just be coming back from my long goodbye tour.
Okay. Is there anybody got anything else want to discuss before we adjourn? Then I'd entertain a motion.
Will we adjourn?
Second,
Second motion was made by Mr. Dozart.
I believe
Seconded
this
by
is a
Ms.
record.
Hayden.
I'm just gonna say that out
Okay, I want
loud.
to put this one down on the calendar.
has anybody ever seen these before?
All in favor, stay so by saying aye.
I
Hi.
Opposed, no. Chair votes aye. We're done, Jake.